Okay, sounds good. Well, we will kick off then. So welcome everybody. This is one of our August webinars. It is a chance for the board to share a little bit about themselves, but mostly to share about their position, what they want to do with their committees, if they have any, or what they want to do with their tenure as a member of the board of directors. So we're branding this as the Committees Reloaded because it's kind of a refresh. We've got a lot of new members and new ideas and things we want to do. So it's our opportunity to share all of that with you. And as always, our president, Matt, will kick us off.
Yeah, so I am your current NAYGN president, Matthew Meininger. Next slide. Let's see here. Yeah, so really, I just want to share what NAYGN should offer to you, what I see it as like the opportunity that you should take advantage of. I think it's a unique opportunity to see facility tours. So as an individual person, individual, company representative, it's very hard to see how the fuel is manufactured, a research reactor, all these other opportunities. So if you come together through a group like NAYGN, that's how you can get to see these other interesting spots. You can also do different workshops as well to build yourself as a leader and learn more about the industry. And it's a way to supplement your career. So you see the bigger purpose. So, if you're a valve engineer, now you're seeing what the valves actually do, what the nuclear plant does, how it's combating climate change. So it's a way to look at the bigger picture and also to avoid burnout as well. So that's what I started to find is without NAYGN in my company, it's the same thing every day. I was, a cubicle monkey. So, it gets you out of there, meet other people, just, yeah, get to know what's happening out there, give back to your community. And yeah, it is an industry and internationally recognized organization. So we have 120 chapters, 15,000 members. We have 100 companies. We are voted as the best nonprofit young generation in nuclear around the world. So definitely the senior leaders and other people in the industry that know about this and know about this organization, you're joining something that is already recognized as an industry leader and actually something that we can actually drive change. So we are the voices of the future generation in nuclear. So we are going to be the ones that influence changes in DE&I, in climate change, in the nuclear perspectives. When Oppenheimer comes out and all these other movies come out, we can humanize our industry and say, no, we're making medical isotopes. We're combating climate change. We are worried about, being a just and just transition. So lots of opportunities through here, a way to have a voice for the future, and also a way to develop yourself as leaders. And that's the big thing as well is if you're starting out in a company, an organization, it's like, how do I get those leadership skills? How do I get that practice? This is a great opportunity. You're building your own teams, you're balancing your own budgets, and also to enjoy it, find out what you like to do. Do you like public information? Do you like being a treasurer? Do you like all these different opportunities you get to have in a professional environment, but with a support group? So yeah, happy to have you all here. And we have 17 amazing committees, so happy to have our board talk about it.
All right, I'll go next. My name is Christy Fletcher. I am your vice president. I am responsible for running 3 committees, so I'm going to run you through each of those, kind of the mission statement and what we're actively working on. So first is the Clean Energy Committee. I love this committee. Our goal is really to go to clean energy conferences, definitely not nuclear conferences, but hydro, wind, solar, anything that's talking about clean energy. Go there and pretty much just say, hey, nuclear is clean too, please include us. And the idea is that if we can convince hydro, wind, and solar company vendors, advocates that we nuclear are also clean, that when they're going to government officials advocating for policy or anything like that, that they will start including nuclear in those conversations. So rather than us forcing our way through the door almost as an afterthought sometimes, like, hey, that legislation didn't include anything about nuclear, it should. If they think that we're clean, then they will also be fighting for us in anything from the get-go. So that's kind of the idea. It's a large task, and we're brand new, so we're still trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And so some things we've tried, we hosted an expo booth at a conference we attended earlier this year, Clean Power. So you can see that expo booth in the bottom of the slide there, that picture. We've done street teams. So rather than necessarily like sitting in, attending the conference session, we've sent people out there just walking the streets, talking to anybody. A lot of these conferences are huge, like thousands of people. So we send people out there just to talk to people on the street. You can get really creative in what you say and how you present yourself. We've hosted a special event. So after the conference sessions were over for the day, we rented a ballroom at a hotel, and we had over 300 people attend. We had all kinds of graphics and information and activities that people could come and talk to us. Free food and drinks also helped get the numbers up, but it went really well. And then lastly, of course, we can attend these clean energy conferences and serve as speakers. So either we host our own session, which hasn't happened yet, or we are a panelist for another session that's talking about, something broader than just nuclear. Our next conference is coming up in September. It is RE Plus in Las Vegas. We've never attended before, but we've heard it's massive. More than 27,000 people come to Vegas. If you are interested in coming to that, let me know right away, and we might still have a couple spots open. So contact me at vp@naygn.org. My second committee is the benchmarking committee. So this committee has kicked off, but it's not too late. We're still at the beginning. Definitely room for more people to join. The purpose of this committee is to come up with survey questions that kind of get data on where we are as an industry, and then also trying to troubleshoot, what are our problem areas and how can we fix them? So I think a lot of people are aware, retention for nuclear and many other industries is a huge issue right now. So what are people saying? What's going to keep them to stay? What's going to bring new people into nuclear? That survey is intended to dive into those types of questions. So the survey will be open for 2 months. So you create the survey questions, you get a break, and then you have tons of raw data that you get to analyze, and you generate a report. So it's really great to, if you like data analysis, it's a great opportunity for you. If you specialize in report writing, that's just kind of your thing. We'd love to have you. The report will be issued in May. So, we've got just under a year. And, if everything goes well and this report is a hit, which it has been every time we've done this in the past, we get invited to speak at different conferences, primarily nuclear, but you can travel, and NAYGN will send you to speak at conferences about the results of this report. So it can really get your name out there, get you jump started. My last committee is the engagement committee, and this is a really fun, creative committee. Pretty broad mission statement. It's just how do we increase the engagement of current NAYGN members, as well as how do we recruit new members. So this committee has also just kicked off. We are working on 6 projects, and I'll run through them quickly. The first is creating an NAYGN online store. So if you were in Minneapolis, all those little buttons and the t-shirts, that type of thing would be what we'd want to put in this store. So it's developing material, developing content, and then more importantly, developing how the online store is going to function. So if you like some of that behind the scenes stuff, this would be a good project for you. Another one is it's NAYGN's 25th anniversary next year. And so that's a big deal. Not every organization makes it 25 years. We really want to celebrate that. And so, this project is thinking of anything and everything we could do to celebrate that. So whether it's initiatives, going out, talking to people, or is it some kind of special memento or item that we give away, or multiple items? So that project team is working there. We've got a video mini series. So a lot of you probably saw the video that Chris Slaughter was instrumental in putting together. It aired at the Twins game in Minneapolis in June. Kind of making that into a mini series. What does that look like? What is the content? What are we going to talk about? What video footage are we going to feature? If you like film production, this would be pretty cool for you. Matt touched on the movie Oppenheimer. So there's a lot of movies and shows about nuclear out there right now. Oppenheimer, The Days, Chernobyl. A lot of times it's not putting nuclear in the best of viewpoints. And so how do we come up with responses when people say, hey, I saw the movie Oppenheimer. I hate nuclear. It's so dangerous. They make bombs out of it. We can have a response prepared, something short, sweet, just to kind of get people to say, no, nuclear is good, and here's why. 5th project is starting up a Mexico chapter. We've got a lot of people who are very excited about this and want to see Mexico thrive. And to thrive, you first have to have your first chapter. So that's what that team is working on. And last, we are going to partner with First Robotics. So this goes into high schools at the robotics level. They've got other levels for different age groups. but partnering with them and kind of celebrating STEM. So they're emphasizing the robotics, we're emphasizing the nuclear aspect. We're all STEM, we all want students to come into our fields, so we're partnering with them to up our engagement. So with that, if you're interested in any of that, the contact is vp@naygn.org. Put any questions you've got in the chat, and we will try to circle back to questions at the end, if you don't mind. But I want to let everybody else talk about their committees as well. So I will turn it over to Ivy to talk communications.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ivy Wilson. I am the communications officer and recently took over role June of this year. And I'm excited to tell you about my committees. We have some exciting things going on. Next slide, Christy. So, Christy shared some exciting opportunities. For example, our partnership with First Robotics, or perhaps opportunities to create new webinars or conferences, revamping, that we might be selling some merchandise. The opportunities within NAYGN, like Matt said, really are endless. But the question comes down to, how do we share that with our members? How do we share that with the public? And how do we get more people engaged in our organization so we can have 25 more years of success going forward? And so the communications group, there's 3 committees that work together to put out information and celebrate new information. And I'm going to share those with you today. So for publications, we work with all of the other NAYGN committees and chapters to determine what content they would like shared on our social media accounts or via our biweekly newsletter blasts that go out to everybody's emails. So hopefully if you're on the call listening in today, you're actively engaged with those. If you're not, please email communications@naygn.org, and I'm happy to help get you plugged into our social media or make sure you're on our list to receive our newsletters. And so by being part of this committee, you might put together a graphic, you might develop a write-up, you may help us reformat different things that we do on a regular basis, such as webinars or outreach documents that we're using in the community. It's a good way to put your hands in a few different things and express your passion in a more creative way than you may get to with your day-to-day job. Next slide, Christy. Social media is very similar. Same thing, you're developing graphics, you're developing write-ups. Another committee might reach out and say, hey, I really want to get this on social media within the next few days. I'm not sure what to put in a graphic. I have a link for you. Can you help me share it? And so our committees meet. We create strategic plans to make sure everything's being advertised correctly. We put together the graphics. It's always something new. It's always something exciting. So if you're looking for something with a lower time commitment to get engaged, but still feel like you're making a difference, these might be 2 good committees for you to join. And then lastly, next slide, our awards committee. So we do all this good work. Our committees work hard every single day to make a difference in the community, to make a difference in their chapters. And it's important to celebrate that success. So our awards committee works to organize voting and announcements and make sure we're giving recognition where recognition is due. So if celebrating others and being part of finding new innovative ways to do so is something you're interested in, reach out to me and I can help get you plugged into our awards committee and help you make a difference within NAYGN. That's all I have, Christy.
Awesome. Thanks, Ivy. All right, so Sanidra is our professional development chair. She unfortunately couldn't make it today, so I have the honor and privilege of kind of walking through what her committee does, and Matt and Amanda are going to chime in to supplement if I miss anything. All right, so the single biggest thing that the professional development committee does is plan the conference. So if you were there in Minneapolis, that was Sanidra and her conference planning committee showing everything that they did for the past year. She has already kicked off at the very beginning stages planning for the 2024 conference, which is going to be in June. So yes, it does take almost an entire year to plan those conferences. It's a lot of work, but it is super, super rewarding. You can see here, the scope is to plan, organize, deliver a 3-day annual conference. And this is aiming to develop leaders to energize the future of nuclear. So you're going to educate attendees on nuclear trends, developing leadership and professional skills, and creating lifelong connections. That's a lot of work. So this committee is unique in that it has a high number of subcommittees. That's kind of intended to break out the workload, section it off, make it bite-sized chunks that's a little bit more manageable. So we're going to touch on each of those subcommittees there, just so you kind of get a taste of the overall effort that is the Conference Planning Committee. So first is programs. So this is logistics, selecting a theme, outlining the sessions. You know, there's a lot of conversation and discussion that goes into what do the sessions need to speak, touch on this year? What are hot topics? Who are, popular speakers right now? All of that goes into coordinating and planning out those sessions. Tied to that is the speaker subcommittee. So, you might have a great idea, but if you don't have a great speaker to present on that topic, it's going to fall flat. So selecting the right speaker that's got charisma and technical knowledge and anything that they need to speak on to help answer questions and get the point across. It's a really big deal. It's really important. And maybe your top pick can't make it because they've already got a prior engagement. So you need to have a second and third backup plan in place. Who are you going to cover this session? The next two, exhibitor and networking. So if you were at the conference in Minneapolis, you saw we had a vendor expo hall. Getting those vendors in takes a lot of work. You're talking with a lot of companies. You're selling them on the idea of, hey, you should come and advertise your company here by purchasing an expo booth. You'll get these benefits. So you get to talk with a lot of different people, a lot of different companies, work with them. Once they say yes, they're going to have a lot of questions about, how do I set this up? What can I bring? What can I not bring? And so you manage those questions as well. Networking. So if you were there and you went to Havana Nights, that was a networking social in the evening. These can be fun. They can be anything you want them to be. So you can really let your creativity shine here again as well. So networking, it doesn't have to be anything formal. It can be fun. We had the salsa dancer there for Havana Nights this past year. So definitely can be fun. Communications. As you can imagine, there is a ton to advertise and promote when you're trying to get word out about your conference and you want people to register. So much so that the Conference Planning Committee has its own communications subcommittee, kind of to take a little bit of burden off of our, from Ivy with our communications team. So communication group is selecting theme, logo, color scheme. So it's not just speaking and spreading news. You are reviewing speaker slides. You are reviewing anything that exhibitors are going to put out there or want to promote. You're also thinking through, hey, when do we need to be posting, promoting the conference or promoting anything tied to the conference? So thinking through planning out those posts. Public information, that is similar to networking. So if you think about the Twins game that we had in Minneapolis, that was a social / public information event. So we went there, we had a good time with our fellow NAYGN members, but we also had a booth where we were passing out free giveaways and talking to the general public about nuclear energy. So it was a combined social and public information event. Plant tours. Plant tours are really popular. It can be a tour of a nuclear plant or a nuclear vendor that might be in the area. Charlotte in particular has a lot of nuclear vendors there that we're talking with about getting tours of their facilities. So it doesn't just have to be plants. As you can imagine, especially for nuclear plants, there's a ton of logistics you've got to talk through. Getting security forms, making sure security is on board with how many people are coming, all that paperwork. It's a lot, but it is a huge part of our conference that a lot of people enjoy. On-site staff. So if you were there again in Minneapolis, there's a lot to set up. So anything you saw that was like a display or a sign or a banner, a crew came in the day before and assembled all of that. And then once the conference was over, that crew reassembled and took it all down, packed it up, and shipped it. So that is a logistics hurdle in and of itself. So that's why it has its own committee. Lastly, merchandise. This is, anything we want to hand out or give away. We're looking at expanding this, maybe having an in-person store. So if you wanted to purchase t-shirts while you were at the conference, you could purchase some to bring back to your chapter, for example. So it's designing those giveaways or things we want to sell, as well as actually purchasing them. You know, there's a lot of different vendors that are doing things like this. And so it's coordinating with them to make sure we've got the best price for the best quality. Matt or Amanda, was there anything that you wanted to add?
I guess just from my side, you know, this is our 25th year, so this is a huge, huge celebration at the conference. So there's going to be a lot of attention. If you're at our conference this year, you know, it's 340 people. Next year is probably going to be 500. So, you know, running the second standalone conference, we have all the experience, the lessons learned. So we're going to make it better. We're going to learn from what we have and, you know, make it even more exciting. So I think just a lot of excitement there. A lot of organization this year. We have our conference planner picked. We have our PD conference planning lead already. So there's already kind of the framework there to guide you. We just need all these bodies just to make it possible. So yeah.
All right, next up is Katie to talk public information.
I'm public information officer, and so what we do and focus on is how to help you guys get into schools and communities and, you know, spread and inform what is nuclear power. So our student outreach committee focuses on specifically getting involved in schools any way we can to educate our youth on, hey, what is nuclear energy, and, you know, some STEM in general, and that it's not a bad thing, and that you too can grow up and be a nuclear engineer if you want to. So a big focus of the committee is our children's books. We have 2 children's books currently published, but we have started discussions on writing a 3rd one. And if you have any more ideas on books, bring that to us in our committee, join the committee. We're looking for more ideas. They're a great sell. People really love them and get involved with them. We also do different events and contests for our schools. So we have our drawing contest, and that's for your 4th through 6th grade, so your younger kids. And they're given a prompt, and like, so we'll need, you know, part of the committee is coming up with the prompt and then judging the drawings and coming up with prizes for those different contests. We do an essay contest for our high schoolers to write an essay based on a prompt, and, you know, rewards for all of them are a bunch of different things, from tablets and laptops to resources for the schools themselves. So those are great things that we do with our student outreach. Then we have a government outreach committee. So our government outreach committee plans things like Hill Day, which previously has been incorporated into our national conference. So, you know, we're trying to come up with how can we do Hill Day without being in DC every single year. So if you have ideas, it'll be very helpful. We also do postcard push days where, you know, we send out, hey, everybody send a postcard to you, like, here's a format, just print it out and fill it out and send it all to your representatives. This is especially useful when there's specific votes on bills coming up that we want to have input on. And that also leads into like our take actions, where we track our bills and be like, hey, everybody email your representative right now. So we're trying to have some influence on our representatives and let them know that, you know, nuclear is a good thing that we want, and like, hey, there's a lot of us that want it. We also do some outreach stuff where we try to get involved in events like SIM, where we know that government presence is going to be there to make an impact and show up a bit like, hey, look, we're here. So that's the kind of stuff government outreach does. Yeah. And so, did you know we have these resources? Because I didn't until the last couple months ago. So a big thing as the new officer, and what I want our committees to really focus on, is redoing all of these resources to make more standard of like, anyone can download any of the PowerPoints. They all kind of look the same, but they have different information. So that's going to be really big for our student outreach committee, first and foremost, of just trying to standardize resources for you guys to better get out and into our communities and make an impact and spread nuclear science. That's it.
All right, thank you, Katie. Next up is Matt and Lindsay as our operating officers.
I think I'll let Lindsay start off here. If you want to go to the next slide there, Christy. Hey, so I'm Lindsay Davis. I'm your U.S. Operating Officer, and I was going to touch on we don't have committees, but we do take care of basically everybody. We focus on our local chapters, and one thing that we do as both Canadian and U.S. Operating Officers, we hold a local chapter meeting that we do monthly. And this is really important because it basically gives you the opportunity to learn what's going on the national level that you can implement onto your individual um, into your individual into your individual chapters. So what we do here is we just talk about what's going on nationally, and in there we say, okay, so we have webinars coming up, we have a mentor-mentee program happening right now, and if you didn't know about that, you can definitely reach out to me or Matthew at USA at NAYGN or Canada at NAYGN and be part of that. If you are newer in the newer clubs and you guys don't do as much and you want to get more involved, this is a great opportunity to learn what you could be doing as a chapter. And our local chapter monthly calls are not necessarily required to be a local chapter lead to be on that call. It is open for everyone. So if you do want to be on that call and you're not already and you just want to know what's going on, the interface, talking to our board members at a monthly time, you can reach out to us and we can easily add you onto the email distribution list, and you can get information that way as well. You can go to the next slide, Christy. So we have, yeah, you can go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Matt Shabolowski. I'm the Canadian Operating Officer. So aside from local chapter leads, they're very, very important grassroots organizations. So local chapter leads really run all the chapters. Since we are grassroots, the kind of the appointing and the transition from local chapter leads from one to another is kind of left up to a chapter by chapter basis. So if that's something that you're interested in, highly recommend reaching out to your local chapter, getting in touch with the leads that are currently there, any other board of directors or executive board members within your own chapter, and kind of see what that process looks for your chapter, because it is different for every chapter. In terms of other ways to get involved within chapters and the sphere of chapters is the regional lead position. So on the board here or in the presentation, you see the regional conferences. As part of NAYGN, we organize within 7 different regions. So that's the Northeast, Atlantic, Carolinas, Southeast, Midwest, West, and Canada. So every chapter, wherever you may be, falls into one of those 7 regions. There's a lot of chapters, as Matt said at the very beginning. It's a lot to manage in terms of just for operating officers, for myself and Lindsay. And so we do have not necessarily a committee position, but it is still a position, and those are regional leads. So the regional leads really assist the operating officers in engagement and coordination of local chapters. So all those 7 regions that I listed, there's one lead appointed to each region. They really engage with LCLs and manage the day-to-day operations of chapters, while Lindsay and myself are able to help with strategic development and growth of chapters in general, as well as the main interface between the board. So as a regional lead, you also connect chapters within your region through organizing regional events, whatever that may look. I know the Southeast region just did a beach day where they had a big social and all the regions came to one location. But another way to do that is also leading the planning of regional conferences, which brings me to what's on the slide right now. So every region once a year has a regional conference, which is different from the annual conference. The annual conference brings together all our chapters. The regional conferences are really supposed to be more tailored to each specific region and the specific needs of each region. So as a regional lead, you're taking on the planning and leading of that whole directive. And then lastly, they also work alongside us, the operating officers, to maintain chapter health and clear understanding of the chapter status. So we really rely on the regional leads to, since we have so many of them, really use them as a main point of contact to see what's going on in the region, how we can support and help, and how the court can assist the region in growing and developing, and also maintaining health and engagement. I think that's it from us.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt and Lindsay. Next up, we've got Sarah to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Thanks, Christy. Hey, everybody. My name is Sarah Davis. I am your Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. I have just started my second round, I guess, as the officer position. So I'm going for another 2 years. But I am the board sponsor for our DEI Committee. And so this committee was formed in 2020. Kind of in twofold. Number one was to help address the NAYGN's diversity gaps that were identified following the 2020 career report, that Christy mentioned, that is part of the benchmarking committee. And so in that 2020 report, the benchmarking committee found that there were some pretty big diversity gaps in terms of demographics. But also in 2020, as we can all remember, that it has been a crazy couple of years since 2020. But in the height of COVID, there was also the height of social injustice and, a lot of different events that led to NAYGN kind of taking a look in and saying, what do we need to do? How do we address this? How do we make sure that we are being the leader of our industry in terms of different diversity issues? So that is how the DEI committee formed. Originally, it was mainly looking at racial inequalities within our organization and industry, but has really grown to encompass all of the different topics of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which definitely include racial demographics, gender, sexual orientation, disability, but also things like for our membership, from small companies to different regions to various speakers and things like that. So it's really even though we are still pretty early in our DE&I journey, it has branched out, I would say, a lot from our initial goal that we had. But a main thing that the DEI committee does is it develops actions and initiatives based on input from the committee members, from NAYGN members, and from our core. So these include different actions like webinars, panels, trivia nights, bylaw changes, if we review them and see that things need to change in terms of language or maybe things that we should add for different roles. And so these all come from different DEI committee meetings and just discussion that we have there. So examples are, next week we actually have an unconscious bias webinar. Previously we've done LGBT National Coming Out Day trivia. We've had microaggressions webinar for Black History Month. So things like that. And also kind of under that umbrella of initiatives and actions is also being part of that conference planning. And so that was a big thing that we were part of in this previous conference in Minneapolis, is making sure that we had a DEI session. I think the board and Matt and Amanda and Christy have been super supportive of making sure that we have a DEI session as a plenary session for the annual conferences, and also regional conferences as well. Our committee members come from all different regions of the continent. And so, sparking ideas for different regional topics that people might want to be involved in, different regional opportunities to speak at various conferences, as before I was DEI officer, when I was DEI lead, there was a couple different regional conferences that I spoke at when things were still virtual. And so just a lot of opportunities to have your hand, in the planning side of things. Also, we have partnerships that we work with different groups. Obviously, WIN, Women in Nuclear, is a big one that we tend to do at least one event per year with, mainly for Women's History Month. But also, some recent groups that we've partnered with is the EHRC, which is the Electricity Human Resources of Canada. And so we've been able to work with them to present at their different meetings. Also, the Gender Champions of Nuclear Policy, making sure that we are committed to equal equal by 30, I think it is, in terms of gender equality within our organization and the industry. So, you know, lots of different partnership opportunities to get involved in. But, you know, like I said, the board has been very supportive of DE&I. And so that kind of shows in each committee. You know, there's a DEI hand in everything that we do, whether it's conference planning, whether it's communication, engagement, all of the different committees that we've talked about so far, just making sure that, you know, DEI is a focus, and we're trying to push the industry and our organization forward in terms of being inclusive to, you know, all of the different aspects of that. So that's the DEI committee. It's once a month that we meet, and we have a lead. Her name is Parina. She is from Bruce Power. She's amazing. So if you are interested, please email me at dei@naygn.org, and I would love to share some more information, have follow-up conversations and everything like that. So with that, I will pass it back over to you, Christy.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. All right, next up, we've got our technology officer, Michael Smythe.
Hey everyone, I am your current technology officer. I've been in the position for about 1.5 years now. It's been a great run. So what we do in the webmaster committee is our big thing is the webmaster committee inside the technology officer envelope. So the webmaster committee was formerly called the digital committee. We've kind of revamped things a little bit, reorganized where we focus our attention. So the big thing we do is web development. We maintain the existing website. We pursue enhancements to it. We pursue major enhancements and small projects. Whether it's plugin updates, whether it's trying to figure out how the website works differently, and we want to enhance what we do there. So our team kind of gets together once a month, and we think of ways to improve features that our members can use, whether it's the resource library that Katie was talking about, whether it's ideas for how the chapters can, you know, view information and get information out there, posting events, posting stories. You know, we control all those things on the website. So we meet once a month, and you see the logos there for WordPress and Divi. Those kind of the major applications that our current website runs through. And if you have any experience with those, we'd love to have you on our team to kind of help manage things, because we're trying to do some pretty big topics, whether it's a website revamp, whether it's, you know, the store that the engagement committee is trying to work on, whether it's trying to change how the website functions under the hood. There's all kinds of opportunities that we have within this committee here to make that work better. So I see a couple names here on the attendees that I'm excited to have around, and I'd love to have them, you know, comment in the chat if they have any good experiences or ideas that we can use certain skill sets on. But I love the engagement here, and Webmaster Committee is a great opportunity in this one particular way that some people are utilizing. Some people in their jobs, whether it's in public relations or whether it's communications, that the nuclear industry is utilizing, the Webmaster Committee can be a soft landing spot for that, to develop those skills in web development. If you need to get better at WordPress and you need a way to do that, you know, our committee is a way to kind of use those skills and help make our organization better while developing yourself along the way, or someone you might know. So if you have ideas for people that can nominate our way, my email there is at the website, technology@naygn.org is a great way to get hold of me. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here.
Awesome. Yep. Next up, we've got Brian Holman, who is our treasurer. He also could not attend, so I'm going to share his information. And Matt and Amanda, if I miss anything, definitely fill in the gaps. All right, so the treasurer is responsible for finance and sponsorship, as you can imagine. So if you want to help NAYGN generate the funds that we need to do all the things that we do, this would be a great place for you to get involved. There's a lot of talking with people high up in all different kinds of companies. So if you just want to use it as a way to make connections, that is another way that you could kind of start expanding your network. You would reach out to our current sponsor companies as well as new sponsor companies. So we want to maintain the sponsors we do have, make sure they're happy, listen to their needs. Do they have anything that they want changed? Not saying we would do it, but, you know, we could definitely hear their concerns. And then reach out to new sponsors. So if we can increase the funding that we receive, we can do even more outreach, professional development, all different kinds of initiatives, anything we want to do. Another item is helping NAYGN start to invest our reserves. So what would that investment strategy look like? You could be in the ground level and be part of the decision-making process. So at the end of the day, it does come down to money. This is an essential role on the board of directors. If you get involved, you know, there's a good chance that you could be treasurer one day and have a seat on the board of directors. So really, really important role. Kind of like DEI, Brian is a part of everything. So he is kept in the loop on anything and everything that's going to require some kind of funding, which is pretty much everything that NAYGN does. So very important role. Matt or Amanda, anything that you want to add?
I just wanted to add, and Amanda's going to talk about this in a second, but treasurer is a position that is coming up for the board for next year for elections. So that's always a good thing to think about with these committees as well, is just, you know, what are your interests and, you know, how can you get experience to increase your odds of getting that position? So see if it's even for you, right? So that's a great way to see that is, you know, work with the current position, work with the committee, see if you like it, and then go from there.
All right, and last but not least is our past president, Amanda Lang.
Thanks, Christy. So I did want to add just a couple things to treasurer. You know, this is an area where we do need some help, and it can be kind of exciting. So, you know, if you have ideas for how to get new sponsors, you know, we can send you to an SMR conference, to the ANS Utility Working Conference, to the Nuclear Energy Assembly, and help us, you know, get inroads, make inroads with companies, and ultimately fund all of these very cool NAYGN projects that, you know, do take sponsorship from companies. So I just want to put that plug in there. So I am Amanda Lang. I am the past president of NAYGN. I only run one committee, the Sustainability Committee, and it is the only committee that has a prerequisite to joining. So you have to be a past president of NAYGN to be on this committee. So not actively recruiting by any means, but if you are interested in running for the NAYGN Board of Directors, that does fall under my responsibilities as past president. And so I would be happy to talk with you one-on-one about what being on the board of directors entails, and how you can best prepare for elections that'll happen in the early part of 2024. So we have 11 board positions. One of those is kind of special. So one of those is a 3-year commitment, vice president to past president. So vice president is up for election. And then we have 8 other board members, 2 sets of 4, and then those terms last 2 years. And so we can discuss the 4 that are up for election next. And also you can start thinking even about 2025 and that kind of thing. So definitely reach out if you have any questions. If you are interested in running for the board now or down the road, the best way to prepare yourself is get involved in a committee now. That'll set you up for success.
All right, thanks, Amanda. So that concludes pretty much all the board of director positions, our committees, and active things that we're working on. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I was not keeping an eye on the chat as we went through this. So if anybody else was and wants to start addressing some questions, feel free, but I am going to get over there here in a second.
And yeah, I just want to fill a little gap here as well. One of the main things we look for on the board is just if you commit to things, do you follow through with them, right? Are you reliable? Will you actually, like, there's so much work to be done, so will you actually follow through with it? So I'd say the committees are a great chance to prove yourself, get your name out there, because like Amanda mentioned, you know, we are looking to send people to conferences. We are looking to give people different opportunities. And there's probably like a small list of people that at the board of directors level we know just from their work in committees, their work in volunteering for different opportunities. So yeah, so that's really your proving ground, right? Join a committee, start to make a difference, get a name for yourself. And then when it does come time for elections or other opportunities, then we're like, oh, I know this person. This person was super reliable. They did an amazing job. like there's so much to be done here. And like I said, what we've done is basically just scratch the surface of potentials, right? There's this whole shift in momentum now of clean energy and nuclear acceptance. There's new nuclear nations, Vogel's coming online, SMRs, district heating, medical isotopes, fusion reactors, all these other things. So yeah, and I see Lance has his hand up, so I think we can unmute you, Lance, if you want to ask.
I'm in KSU right now, and I'm wondering if NAYGN has any plans for connecting with college students who are perhaps interested in the nuclear industry.
Could you say that just first part again? I think we unmuted you just a
I'm a
second.
student at Kennesaw State University right now, and I was wondering if NAYGN had any plans for connecting to college students who may be interested in the nuclear industry.
I'll turn that probably over to Lindsay and Matt, Matty P.
Hey Lance, yeah, I think we know each other. We work together, or we did. But oops, sorry, camera's having issues. Yeah, we can definitely get you started and do a club if you're interested. We can get you. We don't have an open organization right now at KSU, but I know there's been talk to get one started, and you and a couple others have actually expressed interest. So, we can definitely start it. Just if you want to, yeah, start your own chapter, you can email me at usa@naygn.org, and we can talk about the next steps of what starting a chapter would look like.
I would also note that within Canada, we have a lot of student chapters as well as industry chapters. But even before there were student chapters, the industry chapters would go into universities and put on events or just engage with students. So if you know, like if you go to the website, you can look at the local chapters that are around you, especially that are industry chapters. The local chapter leads are all listed there with their emails. You could reach out to a local chapter lead and ask if they are interested in coming out and engaging students at your local university. So that's a little less, like it's a lower barrier to entry. There's not as much that you would have to like start up. Like you're more than welcome to start up a chapter as well, and we can have that discussion. But in terms of like just initial engagement and getting interest and just awareness about the nuclear industry and the opportunities that are available, that would be a really quick kind of, or quicker and easy your way of engaging NAYGN and local chapters around you.
Great question, Lance. Does anybody else have a question? You can come off of mute or you can drop it in the chat.
I see Vidang, so I'm going to unmute you here and you can ask your question. All right, you should be unmuted there.
From Asian Nuclear. We are based out of Canada. My question is a little bit higher level for NAYGN's mission statement and mission strategy. Day by day, we're talking more and more about how medical isotopes and nuclear medicine is really critical for all the cancer treating patients and everybody. And we are incorporating some of that into NAYGN's mission, where we are saying that, yes, some of these companies will be part of NAYGN's mission. My question is about including space nuclear as well, because a lot of companies who are in space nuclear are also in core nuclear power and in medical isotopes. So I want to know a little bit more about where NAYGN sees, like where they stand regarding this. Like how about including space nuclear into the core nuclear NAYGN mission statement, for example?
Statement, even our name, it's not nuclear as in fission, it's not as in, you know, just utility plants. We advocate for everything related to nuclear. So in Canada, we're actually a partner with Canadian Nuclear Isotope Council. We have lots of chapters in the States that are in SMRs, that are in startups, national labs, so Department of Energy as well. And like you mentioned, a lot of our chapters already, like OPG, Bruce Power, all the others, they do medical isotope sales and production as a subset of their work already. So what I'd say is our mission statement is very broad. It's energizing the future of nuclear. Our pillars are all about knowledge transfer and retention, professional development, networking, public information. So it's a very broad advocacy side. So I'd say I'm really excited for space exploration. We've done those for a previous drawing contests. So when we go to schools, one year was actually all about space exploration for the topic. Some of the essay topics as well, we do tailor to that. And yeah, fusion, medical isotopes, space exploration, these are all very cool. So I'd say from a continental perspective, we are absolutely on board. There's nothing that precludes us from working with them, advocating for it, learning more about that. So yeah, if you have webinars, if you have other ideas of getting our members more knowledgeable about this, I'd say 100% we support it.
Thank you, Matthew. So then a follow-up question is that how can a person, in what field of NAYGN should that person be in order to make sure that they are engaging with these individual companies and trying to get sponsors from these companies as well? Because I think it touches upon a lot of the committees talked about today. So I want to make sure that where exactly would a person in this, like where exactly would you see a person in a role where everything can be resolved? Does that make sense? Sorry, I know it is a really vague question.
So I'll give my perspective and I can let others jump in as well. I think it really depends. So I'd say at the local level, what you can do is you can work with your chapter, make sure that in the local area, you're doing webinars, you're getting support from your company for this and in your community. I'd say if you go a step higher, there are regional conferences. So for the Canadian Regional Conference, October 11th, it's going to be in Hamilton. So this is bringing together, the Canadian chapters together. So that's a great spot. And in terms of committees, it kind of hits everywhere. It's hard because you have public information. So, for the postcard push day, for the CNA lobby days, sponsorship committee, I think is really good to reach out to those companies, to make them aware, to build those connections, to get us sponsorship. Yeah, is it really just at the end of the day, it just comes down to what your personal interest is. Where are you most interested in? Where do you find that you can help out? But I'm not sure if I really answered that.
I think your answer is kind of in line with what I was thinking, that it depends on how like a person in this role would like to approach it and then accordingly go after that role. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for this amazing presentation today as well. Very insightful.
And we're going to make sure that we post this on our website, send this out, have the slides, because I know some people couldn't make it today. It's hard to make some of these calls during the middle of the day. So yeah, we'll send that out. And yeah, that's what I would ask everyone attending is if you have a friend or a colleague that you think would be interested in knowing more, reach out to us, share the presentations, share the recording. We need all the help we can get. We have so much work to do, and yeah, we just need everyone on board.
All right, everyone. Well, I appreciate everybody that called in today. I loved all the discussion. I hope you took away something, and hopefully you're reaching out to one of our board members and getting engaged here in the near future. But again, thank you everybody for joining, and we'll make that end of meeting.